was a box inside. They gave me this box, and there was a special key, a special code that I could make use of with inside the box. And when I removed the key from the box, when I had this extra code that I'm referring to, this reference device, this innate partition of a larger piece, one division of a bigger whole, a bigger universe, a bigger connection. All of us were somehow into a full-on connection tank, a way to spill out all the information just when you needed to, in just the right way. You had it all there. This little bit of piece of technology that you couldn't really find any other way to use. You could only use it in the wrong way, no matter how many times you tried over and over to use it the right way. You just wanted to use it the right way, but no matter how many times you tried, you just saw that everything you would do, everything you would say, everything you would make, all the signs pointed to the same place, which was that you just couldn't find a way to make sense of it all, because no matter how many times you kept going back and forth, the duality was killing you, and there was a repeating fashion, the cycle. You kept going in a loop, back and forth, and it was starting to drive you crazy, like you were on some sort of insane seesaw, like you were on some sort of crazy pendulum that was making you go out of this world, because it just wouldn't stop swinging. No matter how many times you thought you were stable and you thought you were seeing things right, things were still moving around. You couldn't judge the world properly, because the place you were sitting or wasn't still. It wasn't a horizon that you could gleefully view from and imagine that everything was objective and that you could actually have a proper picture of what was going on around you, that your environment wasn't actually being masked by some sort of fog, some illusory underlying reason that you couldn't actually make sense of this place. And so at some point in time it just starts to click that there's nothing, there's no better way to put it. You can't explain it, you can't put it into words, so you just start mumbling it out, you just start jumbling it out. It becomes like some sort of word game that you're just spitting out whatever you can just to fill the space, whatever you can to fill the time, just because you can't. It doesn't make sense any other way to do it. It just doesn't make sense. So you figured out, well, it might as well make sense so I can stay in the right kind of goals that I want to adhere myself to, the right kind of mission, because I've got to stay organized, I've got to stay clean, I've got to stay precise. As long as I can be precise and organized and act with a certain clarity that no one else can understand, I'll be able to get away from this kind of feeling. As long as I just centralize my focus into one little spot, as long as I keep rubbing circles around my eyes, and it feels like there's a mind-body connection going on that I can't break. As long as I'm in that space, there's no way to break away from that place that I never want to leave again now that I'm here, because now that I'm here, I know what it's like not being here, and that's the big difference. It really makes you think about, why am I trying so hard to get away from it? Why am I trying so hard to run away? And it's all in your head, it's all in your head. It's all a game that you're making up, you're making yourself play it, you know. You don't have to be player one or player two. In fact, you don't even need to spectate. You can just forget there's a game at all, realize that there was no game, there was no checkers, there was no sorry, there was nothing on the table. There's not even a table, or is it? Maybe that's the game, just a table. Just a big piece of furniture staring back at you, that flat slate of wooden surface, so clean, so pure. Just a large wooden rectangle staring at you clean in the face as you quickly designed all the ways that it could be used improperly again. You wanted to go back to that place, you wanted to use it wrong. You liked using things wrong for the wrong ways. You wanted to have you thought all innovation came from misuse. If I can just tamper with the system or figure out a way that wasn't intended to make this kind of thing happen, it will finally excite me again. If you just abuse the use of something until it finally adheres to your use, and then all of a sudden you're the one in control again. You're controlling that power dynamic of the numbers. Every time you add two numbers together, you don't just get one number, you get three numbers, because you can't forget that it's only transformed, it's not destroyed, it's still there, the two numbers that you began to start with. So it's not like they could just disappear or something. It's almost like the coefficients, the multipliers, the ingredients of the cake. You're still eating just flour and eggs, you know, when you actually pull out the cake from the oven. Then it's no longer one thing, you know. It was always separate and it was always whole at the same time. And so you kind of realize that the idea of a cake at all is pretty silly. If it was always just spread around throughout the universe in all these little parts, why is it now considered somehow to be together just because they're mixed together? Like, you can't find them. Like, if I mixed your wedding ring and a bag of marbles and you couldn't find it, does that make it some sort of new thing? Now is it a bag of wedding rings? No, still just marbles in a bag plus your wedding ring. It's no different than it being on your finger. You wouldn't even notice it if you were looking down. If it didn't feel different because you had that little imprint around your ring finger, unless you wore it on your middle finger, because you kind of realized the size didn't fit after you lost those extra couple pounds, and after the time wore off, that passion wasn't there the way it used to be, and that it wasn't worth the way it nicked at your joints, the way it kind of bulged out around your knuckle, the way it just didn't feel quite right, the way that you'd always thought it would be, because, at the beginning you had that passion to blind you, that reason to think, oh, it fits on so right, but by the time it was over, there was no reason to think that anymore, because it all fades away. It all fades away like a big up and down wave. Like, by the time the wave had seeped back into the water, there was another one coming, another one you couldn't stop. You didn't even know why. You thought you made the right choice until you realized you'd be along this life. You didn't think you'd live 45 years, did you? You didn't think you'd make it that far. You didn't think maybe you did think you'd make it that far, but you just never realized what those kind of implications would be. Like, your mind is slower, your brain's bigger, but it's using less of its power all the time. It's like a big blob of used parts, and you're all trying to work together, and you forget that it's really at the own mercy of what you set yourself up for, because you weren't already using them to begin with. And when you have a long lifespan like that, you can't get that stuff going so far down the timeline. It just doesn't work. It gets gets rusted in. There's an element of decay that if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And at least that's what you'd always heard. But you didn't really believe it. Maybe you did believe it, but you just didn't care. Maybe that's what it always came down to. You just didn't care enough to actually do anything about it. Because caring's really all there is. It's funny though how you can care so much for yourself, but at the same time inadvertently care so little. It's almost like caring's not even a real concept. It's almost like it's just another human idea, and there's nothing actually about it that's really happening fundamentally in nature, just as like a proper natural piece of the world around you. Like it's not actually something that's ingrained into reality. It's something that you made up so that you could understand it better. Because it didn't make sense to just shrug and say, oh, well, this just is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, that's it. And in a sentence, there's a period right after the is, and it just ends simply. There is no this is blank. There's no other thing. This is it. This is this. This is this. It is it. We are we. You are you. It just is. There was no try to think there was another way to explain it, because it was the only way that would make sense clearer in your mind. It was like starting to bother you the way that things just seemed. It was like too simple that you were getting antsy with it because you were so used to the information overload. You wanted new names, you wanted new ways to decipher, you wanted new styles and trends and categories and tags and timelines and functions and deletions and uses and all sorts of things. You can ravel it up in your mind, some sort of cake, another cake. You just wanted to have those separate ingredients feel the same. You wanted it to be some sort of bigger picture. You wanted it to make sense, but really it was always just scattered around like it made no fucking sense. Because sense is just an idea of yours that you're holding on to a little bit too much as things start to get real chaotic, real crazy. But then again, that's just another idea you're clinging on to, and that sort of idea is too much for you to handle. As soon as you reach that conclusion, you give up. You say, okay, time to go back to that place. I'm done here. I'm not even going to consider it again. Let's go back to autopilot. Let's check out this rust. Let's check out this old trick. Let's check out this old maneuver. Let's just boot up standard. Let's boot up the safe mode. Let's try to boot the same way we always do. Let's do this. Let's disable the bad parts. We don't need to. I can live with 8 gigs of RAM. I don't need the other half. I can live with 8 gigs, right? I don't do that a lot. I don't even really do a lot of processing these days. I'm 45 years old. I shouldn't need that kind of processing. How old do you think I am? I guess the older I get, I just keep wondering why it's getting so slow, or if the world's just getting so quick with all these smartphones, all these new devices. It's almost like you can't keep up. And then you realize there's nothing really to keep up with. I'm just watching the sidewalk. I'm just watching the streets. I'm just walking down the highway. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of cars and trucks will move down these lanes. I'm passing over. It's a dotted line. I'm not supposed to do that. But then I forget that there's also a solid line on the other half. It appeared like I was in a dream. Just all of a sudden it turned on. The opacity came on, and that part of the sidewalk was all of a sudden moved to the other side of the street, and I was in England again, and it was the wrong side of the street, and I couldn't realize that I was doing something like this that again was incorrect. It was horrible. It was wrong. I was making so many mistakes, and why was everything the W word and not the R word? Why was it always set up that way? The thumbs down, not the thumbs up. It was like Mark Zuckerberg was laughing in my face because he's big ruse. There was no dislike button. You didn't have that option. There was even though you predicted hashtags on Facebook 3 years before it came out, there was still no completion of that polarity that you thought was always coming. It's just the like button now. And Mark Zuckerberg is going to tell you how it's done. Okay, are you ready? On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. We're about to get ready. Are you ready? Time's up. Spaceship Mars. We're going now. I need you to get in the fucking seat. It's a hostage situation. We're sending us off. Turns out, big joke is no Mars. The conspiracy theorists were right. There's no Earth. There's no nothing. It's all just a big manufacturing plot. It's lots of good CGI. They've had CGI for years. How they built the pyramids. It's all drawn up in a computer program. You see, at some point you reach so far ahead in technology where you got to make the game more interesting again. You got to make it exciting. So what do? You just start back from the beginning. It's like you install a new alt account. You play Minecraft again. Start over. You delete the world. You had so much progress. It doesn't make sense. Why would I delete the world? I've got all this great technology. I can get everything done for me. It's so quick, so fast. Everything's automated. Everything's easy. Everything's organized. But what do? You've been at that life so long. You're 90 years old. You give up. You hit the F. You get out of there. You make the big leap, and then you start over again. I want to try again. I want to have those. I want to scream for air again coming out of my mom's womb. I want to start from the basics, and then that's how this kind of world comes from. And then we think we're not some sort of experiment. You forget who you were, in your past life when you shot yourself at 90 years old because you were ready to move on or try it again because you wanted the struggle of starting fresh again. And you realize that there was no Earth because this was all part of the experiment that you've been playing a part in for a lot of years, a lot of days, a lot of seconds. How many heartbeats would it be if you had to count and measure your life out of that kind of thing?